Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. It's your girl Afnan.
And it's Farah.
And we are rooted black girls representing everyday black millennial women in multiple faiths, cultures, and today, generations. Y'all know we stand millennials. We are millennials.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know that the oldest millennials have just turned 40?
I don't claim them.
You don't claim the older millennials?
I don't claim them.
Where do you think it stops at?
In my mind, like 37 right now. 37.
When I meet people that are a little, older than me, then I see a difference. I kind of relegate them to Gen X because they have a really weird poster personality. Yeah. And I think their poster child is Kanye West. I've said that before.
Oh,
like Jay-Z, Kanye West are like poster children for, they kind of are individualized. They kind of sold out a little bit.
Yeah.
They kind of work within the system to like make personal gains.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think those are millennials. But Beyonce, I think, is more connected to a millennial.
Yeah.
She
stays connected.
40.
Yeah, but she stays connected. She makes it, and she hires people and makes an intentional effort to stay connected. Yeah. But I think the rest of us are just big ass kids.
Yeah, big ass kids. Why do we need to grow up?
That's a good question. I don't know. I love trying to stay young. I'm just now getting the comments like, "Oh, you're old." Yes. From like younger cousins and siblings. Do they disrespect y'all like that?
Definitely they do.
Yeah.
My brother actually, he is a lot younger than me, and he doesn't see a huge difference in like our general, like what we like to do. I don't know if he's just appeasing me, to make me feel good, and I appreciate you, Hassan.
Yeah.
Because
no, shout out to Hassan.
Because awesome. I think maybe he was like, I don't see too much of a difference, but my life, how does it look any different from him outside of being more, having like maybe a better personality, having more experiences, right? I just think I'm kind of part of his generation in a way, but I have more money.
Yeah. No, literally, look, we have more money, made more mistakes, figured a few things out. Basically.
I don't talk to people crazy now. I can really
I'm still trying.
Yeah. We still have, sometimes. But yeah, definitely I feel like a big kick. I don't feel my age, Afnan.
No, absolutely not.
I don't know how y'all feel.
Yeah, I turned 30 and people were like, really? And I was like, girl, tell me about it.
Know.
I remember when I thought 30 was like super old.
I remember I was like, what? Who are they, Mom? Like, I don't want to hang out with them.
Yes.
So old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's like I realized that my perception of where I thought I would be and where I would feel in my mind, like 30, I would be slowing down energy wise. I wouldn't want to travel. Like
I thought 27, I was done.
Yeah,
like off the streets.
So stupid.
Yeah,
that's
just
so
like children, barefoot, pregnant in a house.
That's what I thought. I thought 26 for sure. I would be like done. Clank clank.
Right.
In the house.
And now I'm thinking every single day, I'm like, do I want my life to look any different? Right. But then I also think like, is this what life is about?
Yeah.
Right. There's always this like, oh, I'm good. Like why are millennials still on the sneakers app?
You know what? Speaking of speakers, I literally just got some tennis shoes from StockX, and I'm like, I need to grow the hell up.
Why haven't we gone our, what are those shows? Like, we need shoes, like Clark's.
Stop it.
Yeah, like, why haven't we aged into that?
No, fuck that.
I know. I'm wearing like Dunks, right? Yeezys. Period. Right? Yep. I'm just like, well, New Balances. Okay. But now, and New Balances are like the new like dad shoe.
I remember when they were justified dad shoes and like you wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. I wouldn't touch them.
Yeah. And then I remember my dad being like, okay, yeah, that's part of the 2 for $100. You and Adam.
Oh, no.
Remember that?
No, literally.
Do you hate that deal?
Or the outlets. Like taking you to the outlets instead of getting the name brand like legit from the mall of the drops.
For tax-free weekend.
Yeah.
And now I look back at it, I'm like, tax-free weekend, what does that really do? Because it's only for clothes or shoes.
More shopping. That's what it is. So
you
get out there.
More shopping, but the break isn't that large of a break. It's not.
I mean, but for some families it could be. Yeah, I think for some families it could be. But I think honestly, like we're just in a generation where it's so easy to stay where we're at. Yeah. There's not like as many social influences to like move on. Aside from like the incessant questions of when are you having kids, when are you getting married, like what are you doing with your life?
We're also the generation that in our more formative years that we experienced September 11th, right?
You mean we were born in chaos? Wasn't Twitter talking about
Twitter
this?
Was definitely talking about that. It's this guy by the name of Soak. He was hilarious,
God.
But he said accurate. We are like the children of Rihanna born in chaos.
Oh my God.
And it's completely true.
Facts.
And I told you guys a long time ago how I was talking and watching the September 11th documentary, and I knew nothing. I was looking at it through a teenage child lens.
What? Fred and I ended up binge watching the series, and I was horrified all over again watching it from like an adult perspective. Did I tell you about? I don't think we talked about that.
I gasped. I was like, what in the world was this?
I know.
And even to the point where when we're comparing, and you shouldn't compare, right? Deaths, but you think coronavirus, and like I think where are we? Like 600, 700,000 deaths? in the country.
Insane.
But that was in a very impactful, we felt, like terrorized by a different set of people outside of this country. And it just felt, wow, like what exactly is this? And we knew it was a pivotal moment. We knew our lives would look no different. Absolutely. I was accounting it, and I felt like after September 11th, the world seemed like the way that I perceive it now.
Yeah.
It looks like it was black and white.
What do you mean? Tell me more.
Meaning the way that when I look back and account what was happening after, like 2 to 3 weeks after, when the world had just shut down altogether and we were glued to the television.
Yeah.
I see myself and my family in like black and white.
Really?
It's very, very weird. But I remember a lot of the detail of like where I was.
Okay,
what I was doing.
I feel like everybody who like millennials definitely remember where they were when they found out. Do you recall?
Yes,
what state
I was
were you
in Mr. Wilson's AP chemistry class.
Where were you in the world?
I was in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
Military town.
Interesting.
It's a Navy town.
Okay.
We had a lot of Navy kids in our school.
So you were in class when it happened?
I was in class. I remember we knew that the first planes
on the
had
East
hit.
Coast, yes,
Yeah,
that's
and
right.
George Bush was actually pretty close by reading to little kids in the state of Florida.
I saw that in the documentary. And remember when he whispered in his ear, like, America's under attack? He's like, slow blink.
Yeah, slow blink. Like, he couldn't, you could tell he was like gone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I remember by the time I got to geometry with Miss Keating.
Y'all kept going to class.
We kept going to class until they shut it down.
Oh, because they didn't realize what was happening
We
just yet.
didn't realize. Yes. By the time we got to second class, the second plane had hit, right? Because that was like 9:20 something.
Yes.
And by the time I got there, they were already dropping Osama bin Laden's name. And I don't know if he did a video claiming that, it was part of his group. I didn't know what was going on. But I remember thinking that happened very quickly, that they're blaming Muslims, right?
My God.
And not connecting Osama bin Laden to Muslims, because that'd be really messed up, right? Because that's a whole different sector.
We don't claim him. Can we just say that real quick?
What Muslim claims this?
Not
nigga?
One. Not a real one. May Allah judge and be the
the final
moving
judge
on,
and
continue.
testament, right?
Yeah.
And so I just remember but I didn't wear hijab at the time, and I was an athlete. I was a varsity athlete, right?
Okay.
And
How old were you? What grade?
I was like 14, 15.
Okay.
September 11th, right?
Nice.
And so I wasn't relegated to being Muslim, but my neighbors knew that we were Muslim because our grandmother would always come. My mom wore hijab, but I did not. So at school, I wasn't terrorized. I was kind of relegated as like one of the smart, because you're in just AP classes. People just make up stuff.
Make stuff, yeah.
The smart athletes, that group.
That was a group.
Because there was like a group of us that
your
would go to
world
every
was
class together.
Generally unaffected.
Generally, right?
That is
I do remember my dad weirdly putting up a flag in front of the house. And I was like,
girl,
what
I have
is
a story.
this?
I have a story. Child.
Yeah, so where were you? You were wearing hijab at the time?
I was wearing hijab. I had been wearing hijab for a few years by then. I was in...
I'm sure it's a totally different
fourth
story.
grade. I was in fourth grade.
Yeah.
And I remember I woke up out of bed and I heard my dad in the living room, because we were in Nevada at the time. A shout out to Reno.
I've lived in Reno.
Child. Oh my God. I don't know why my parents would ever do that
town.
to me. Very weird town.
Yeah.
Predominantly
it's the
white.
smallest, largest town in the world. Is
smallest,
that what they said?
Yeah. It's like everybody knows it, but it's tiny.
It's tiny, yeah.
And it's in the middle of the desert in Nevada. It's like nothing there. Anyway.
Nothing. Lots of Subarus.
I remember thinking, is this like a foreign car?
Like,
I had never seen so many.
A really reliable, ugly car. I think the worst drivers. Anytime I see like, what the hell are they doing?
It's Nevada.
It's no. They're driving a Subaru.
Oh, the Subarus are to blame?
Yeah,
Girl, I don't even know.
Anytime I see a Subaru, but go ahead.
So fourth grade, I remember hearing my dad, like my eyes are opening, hearing my dad, I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
But we're on West Coast time. So by the time, so we're 3 hours behind.
Still home.
Yeah, we're home. I should have been at school. I looked at the clock. The clock was 9-something our time. And I remember thinking something is wrong because I should have been to class by now and I'm really rested and I didn't wake up to screaming parents.
Oh, yes.
And I remember walking out in the living room. My dad was like glued to the TV. Yeah. And I was like... And he was like, when dads are watching, like something has to be a low, and right? And so I was like, what's going on? And of course I could see the screen, and I see these buildings, World Trade Center, didn't know what the hell that was. And I was like, what is it? Yeah. And he was like, oh, in New York, a building crashed. And by itself, it sounds like an accident. It sounds like,
everyone thought it was like a pilot had a heart attack.
I didn't even realize that I didn't even realize like a plane had hit the building or anything like that. No one knew.
They thought it was a small plane. Initially, they told George Bush that it was a small like carrier plane, and it wasn't a 757 with full fuel.
Massive, yeah. And I think the other thing is at the time when I initially found out, it sounded like it was an accident. I think part of it was like my childhood and like not understanding like planes don't just run into buildings, but I didn't even know about the plane portion. It sounded like maybe the building had like structural imbalance or I don't know, and it just crashed or you know what I mean? And so then I was like, why are you so sad though? Like what's I'm missing something. I could tell that the gravity of it was heavy and I didn't understand and I knew I didn't understand. And my dad was like, you know, this is gonna be different for us. Things are gonna be different.
He said that to you.
Yeah, he knew, like, especially because a few hours later they had already started talking about Osama bin Laden, and he knew like our lives are gonna be different. And I remember being like really nervous of like what was he talking about, and hoping that he was just like, you know, typical African father. He's blowing things out of proportion.
Yeah, right.
And I was really hopeful that he was exaggerating.
So what did you experience?
Girl, by the time we went back to school, friends,
which was like 2 weeks later, right?
Yeah,
they shut down the whole world.
I don't even remember how long we were out, but I remember it was a minute.
It was the United States.
Yeah. I remember there was like a period where we weren't going to school. And then when I did, like, friends walked up to me clean and said, my parents said I can't be friends with you because you're a terrorist. And I remember like pleading, like really good friends at the time. And I remember thinking like, guys, I don't know how to make a bomb. I'm totally harmless. I'm failing algebra. I copy your homework. You know what I mean?
You're like, the chemistry, I don't even know
I
how
haven't
to
even taken
put this stuff
chemistry.
together.
I don't know nothing on the elements table. Okay, periodic table. So, and I remember not understanding, like, oh my God, they're really afraid of us. And I remember overwhelmingly, all the Muslims I knew at the time felt like compelled to show them we're not a threat to you. Let's
there was
pacify.
This like reactive.
Like, no, you know, like it's not us. Let's show you who we are. And I feel like I would have taken a very much different approach now, right?
Do you feel like people were more
nasty,
staunch about their religion?
Oh my God!
Do you feel like we had to make a decision? Like it almost like what I imagine is, you know how that scary kind of Jahannam, kind of like the devil's gonna come to your house and say,
Jahannam is hell for those if you guys
for hell, right? So there's always this story of like the day will come or they're gonna put barcodes in the back of your neck. I don't know. This is what I grew up like. Me and my brother talking.
Barcodes in the back. Wait, I'm totally
not
missing
Jahannam,
this.
but like the idea of like the devil or a surrogate of the devil will come to you, bring a gun, and be like, who do you believe in?
Oh, yes.
And if you say Allah, then he'll shoot you dead, right? Yeah. But if you say something different, then you're part of his like army.
Yeah. Well, your faith overrides your fear.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in that time, I was thinking like, oh, got to suit up? Like, I got to be ready. Allah, you know?
Oh my God.
Like, I really thought, and I think generally, like symbolically, people were thinking that way. Okay. I felt like more people put on their hijab, more people were connected to the faith.
Oh, girl, no, I experienced the exact opposite.
Really?
I saw people taking off, like my stepmother at the time, she wore niqab. Yeah. And I remember like it being like a question of if it was safe. Another thing that shortly after that happened, our mosque actually was attacked. Like there was a black Muslim doctor and two white young men, I think they were like 18 and 22, came with metal bats and attacked the first person they saw walk out of the masjid, and it happened to be him. And while he did live through it, he never recovered. Like he was never able to practice. And I remember then understanding what my dad said, that like our life was different. And I felt like we had to communicate very clearly and often all the time. We are Americans. We are Muslims, but we're peaceful. We are not to be feared. Like we're safe. Like pacifying people. Like no. Yeah. It's okay. You know, like we're fine. And I remember having to prove my Americanism, right?
Like American flag.
American flags. You know when you said your dad put the flag?
Say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, I remember like saying it louder, like I'm an American, and almost
Pledge of Allegiance.
Almost pledging my allegiance to America before my religion, so people didn't think that they were unsafe. Yeah. And I remember we bought red, white, and blue ribbons to put on our cars. Yeah. We bought the flags all the time because at every stoplight we were getting those looks. I was full hijab at the time. Yeah. And I remember being like, if I don't communicate that in every visual cue, like inaudible cue that I have, I could be in danger. And then even like my dad lost his job shortly after because they mysteriously ended his contract. But like a lot of Muslim families I know, like were had like financial impacts because of that. And so kind of going back to what you were saying, chaos. Yeah. Like, and that was the beginning of it, right? Yeah. Then you add like the financial crisis afterward, like through college.
Don't even get me started.
It was one after another. Student loan, right? Predatory debt.
Predatory debt.
Oh my God.
We can't purchase homes. So, you know, I saw some stuff here that says that more than half of millennials are not married.
I believe it.
We're thinking and imagining like different lives altogether. And I think
the Stepford housewife model's not like working anymore.
What was that?
The Stepford housewife model.
It's not. Yeah. It's not. Like, we're not looking at that. These are all antiquated and outdated models for us, right?
Yeah.
And we're thinking, like, of course, we're like 2 Muslim women, right? But we're thinking as millennials, as Americans, as a conglomerate group of people, right?
Yeah.
And of course, we'll delve a little deeper into the Black Muslim space. Like, what does that mean for us? But like, in general, I just think we're born of chaos. There's a lot of things that have happened to this generation. And the thing is, like, I'm sure the other generations had a lot of stuff going on too, like Vietnam War, World War I, right? World War II. And so we're not thinking we're completely opposite, but in what we know and who we are
and what we've experienced here in the U.S.,
it feels very chaotic.
Oh my God,
it feels chaotic.
Yeah.
And so when we're trying to like fashion and build households, I really, you just think like, am I really going to bring someone along? You think about the debt that you've accumulated over a period of time, right? Because of these predatory loans that they're allowing 18-year-olds to make these large decisions around hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right?
It's
insane.
Like, come on. Like,
it's
come on,
dangerous.
Joe and Kamala. Like, I need y'all to do something about this, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, just I think a lot of millennials are rejecting the idea of like what the American dream looks like.
Yeah.
Like the home ownership, right? Living in
the
suburbs.
life of Airbnb, in the day and age of Airbnb, and like
you're thinking about like what we're doing now. And so I think we see these new generations, like including ourselves and Gen Z, and then the next, what are they going to be called? Alpha generation?
Girl, I don't know.
AA? I don't know. I don't know who they are.
Listen.
Right? They're going to be the children of millennials, but then millennials are not having children at rates that we've seen historically.
We're not ready. God damn. Listen, first of all.
And maybe it goes back to what we talked about in the beginning of us not feeling our age. It's all connected. Like, do I feel equipped to start a family?
Listen.
And to really be selfless.
But
right?
if my biological clock didn't tick, I would wait another 5 years easily.
My God, 10.
Easily. Like without hesitation.
Yeah.
Like go, and I think the other thing is the plan that was kind of written out before us, or like the way that people would do things before us, like in our parents' generation, like by now you were settled and you had some years to like get your stuff out and live your best life.
My mom had a kid at this age.
Yeah, that's nonsense. I mean, not for your mom, but like I can't imagine.
Like, what? And I have some friends that have children, right?
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
But generally, I think most of my friends are, kind of without.
And I think fundamentally,
models of households.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
I think the other thing is, to your point too, like the foundations of like how expensive home ownership is, how expensive college tuition is. Then you add debt. Like financially, it doesn't even make sense. It's dangerous to do that without a solid plan.
Now we have COVID.
Oh my
God! That's like
girl,
just shifted us completely into a different direction, a new direction, and then we're supposed to think about the permanency of building a family and a household when we keep being jabbed.
But I had somebody.
I feel like Ali's hitting me, bro.
Girl,
like
from every side,
like sting like a butterfly. I feel like I'm being pushed around.
I think the other thing too that I thought was so interesting is somebody who's a Gen Z, one of my friends, was saying like, "Oh, I would never accept a job where I had to go in." And I was like, "Wait, you've never had a job in the office?" She's like, "No, never." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah, my little brother never.
They've never worked.
I think he worked at Polo. We met up the other day, and he was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "I felt like it was 2 days." He was like, "It was a month."
Oh my God, no! But like the fact that they've never experienced working in an office building or even fast food. She said she had never done it.
Nothing.
She's like, and I don't think I'd ever try it.
Yeah, and I don't blame them. Why?
Man.
Why?
But at the same time, it's like, going back to what we said before, how do we think like largely, like differently around the social skills you would have got if you had to be in front of somebody? Like, how are you going to operate differently as a coworker or as a colleague when you've never had to meet these people ever?
Do they have to?
I mean, I guess not.
Yeah, it's going to be completely different, right? And I think that's why millennials, I think we're going to be the leaders of the next generation. I'm kind of taking that on, right? I think we're all assuming this role, right? As baby boomers are finally sitting the hell down.
And
because
they finally getting tired. They fought us.
But COVID made them retire.
They were tired.
Yeah, I have a few like people that I know that are that are older, that are baby boomers, who said that had COVID not happened, they would still be
would have hold on to it a little bit longer.
But they sold their homes. They're getting RVs. Now they're traveling.
Done.
They're finally done. They're like leaving the ranks, right?
Yeah.
Which leaves us
Thank
to kind
God.
of carry on the baton. And we talk about that often, right? But in addition, like I was looking up some stuff and they said Black millennials are at a lower than any other ethnicity or race group of having and building families. And I was like, why? Why?
I mean, to me, it makes sense. Like all of the lack of support on every front. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not to undermine the experiences and the people who we've built a country on the backs of Black and brown people, of course. Sure. And of course they didn't have the opportunities, but now like it's that much more complicated to navigate through, and it's also changing, at the click of a button, literally, right? We're the generation of the internet kids. Yeah. So
in addition to, like, as you're saying, like the oppressiveness of like white patriarchy that's inherent to this country,
right?
And then that's foundationally part of this country.
Yeah.
And so it does make a lot of sense that Black folks, in addition to millennials not doing so, kind of like not fitting into these traditional models, are also not doing it at an even greater rate.
You know what that makes me think of too? It makes me think of the younger generation that's also rethinking like the structure of like love and marriage. Ooh. Girl, have you heard Willow Smith? She is so free. So like the way she moves, like specifically, like she's very open to like multiple relationships.
Yeah, polyamory.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I have a friend who's been offered that.
Really?
Insane. Like they were offered like a throuple. Relationship, right?
How would you respond to that?
I don't know. I think people are open to it. I know. Please I'm not interested.
No, not at all.
But I think it's the idea, like a lot of people now are feeling like there's no ownership or possessiveness in love, right? So they feel like that they don't have to possess their partner in that way, and that their partner could love multiple people at one time.
That's good for them.
So
I have to just be more open-minded about it.
Tell me more about Willow, because I did cut you off.
So Willow was talking about how, first of all, I think if I'm not mistaken, she said she would never get married because she can love multiple people at once. But Willow's always been like a really free spirit. And I think
both her and Jada.
What? Yeah. Wildly. So like Willow will do things like grow out her armpit hair and refuse to remove hair on her body because it's her. And I remember Gams, Jada Pickett's mother, would be like, I don't understand.
She's a baby boomer.
How you not waxing? She'd be so beside herself trying to understand, but then also trying to figure out a way to be supportive. Like, okay, but keep it clean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I admire.
She seems like the one on the show for Red Table Talk. If you guys haven't watched it, really great, especially the older episodes.
Yes.
But like Gam seems to, and that's the grandmother. She seems to have the most resistance and most like she's awestruck by the audacity of Willow and like how she's imagining her own life.
Yeah.
Like,
and living it out, quite frankly.
And living out her own life.
She's like, this is what we're doing.
Exactly.
It's like, what are people? She's going to be like, damn the people.
Exactly.
Willow lives her life out loud in color.
Do you think there's room for millennials, Gen Zers, to kind of think about different arrangements? So I read something around like, some people are thinking around like short-term union relationships where they know there's going to be
like leasing a marriage, girl?
Like leasing a marriage. Like, kind of want to just hang out with you, for like 5 years or something.
You know what? I could understand the value in that. To me, I'd be like, what's the difference between that and like long-term relationships, like boyfriend and girlfriend? I think one maybe just offers some legal protection, but it's a pain in the ass to like try to change your name and all that stuff. So it's like, if you like it, I love it. It's not for me.
There was someone else, Sarah Silverman. I don't know if she's an actor, but she was like, why would I want the government to be all up in my relationship? And I was like, ooh, interesting. But then there are provisions and protections, right? So now we think Islamically around this model, and you think like marriage is a protection, right? That you are going into a relationship knowing that you have a community behind you, right? Yeah. I have a friend who recently got married and felt like when they had their union where they were kind of showing themselves to the world, it really felt like, wow, right, this is real. And we also have like a respect and a duty to ourselves, first and foremost.
To formalize the relationship.
To formalize the relationship, but in addition to like, we have a responsibility to our community, right? To see
of how we conduct ourselves.
Of how we conduct ourselves. And so Islamically, we understand the benefit of marriage, right? Of the protection and security of these relationships. But then I see how millennials, and I wonder how that's going to work, like our Muslim lens with our kind of modern day millennial lens around how people are fashioning new relationships. Like what does that look like moving forward?
Girl, I don't know, because some of the aunties are out here moving, getting married, divorcing, remarried, living their best lives.
Is polyamory not like marrying 4 wives? Like Allah told y'all. You know?
But listen, fellas, get one wife and then decide. That's all I'm gonna say. Every married man I know who was like joke about it, they'd be like, get you one wife first, brother, and then tell me if you can handle 4.
You cannot.
Then tell me.
And
it's
like
a lot
really
of work.
have to take care of 4, right? Like you just, I don't think anyone in the United States has the ability. Born of chaos. Like there's no way that you can afford your student loans and a wife and children and household.
Listen.
Yeah. But yeah, so also in this article, they were saying like child rearing marriages. They said that people who live apart and decide not to live together. So, I think there is room to decide how, even in our Muslim lens, to decide what relationships we're putting together. Right? Because that's a private matter, right? But of course you want to do it with, the legality and the protection and the barakah of Allah, which is like the goodness of God.
I definitely recommend that. And the other thing is like, I tell like,
I see the benefit in it.
For sure. And I think marriage shouldn't have rules. I think one thing that Will and Jada do really well is like, they are not subscribed to the traditional structure of marriage. And if it works for them, it works for them. Yes. And I think what we could borrow from that in terms of Muslims is like, there's a lot of open space to make a union that's yours, right? Whether that's living apart or having 2 different spaces, you can do that and completely be within the confines of an Islamic marriage. And I tell people, go for it. I think a lot of people still get culture mixed up with religion. Yes. And I think that's where it gets dangerous. Exactly. But a lot of our religion offers peace, freedom, and security. And I don't think there's anything wrong with like doing what makes you happy.
About like, you think about my mom. I think my mom, what generation? She may be a baby boomer, right? But I think about like how she puts on unneeded like pressures around her idea of marriage on me, right?
Oh yeah.
Right? So I'm just thinking like, how do we then, because we're not going to leave our parents behind, like how do we bring them along and how do we have those conversations?
Help them grow with us
and help them grow with us. Process, but that's maybe some conversations that we'll have on another episode or in the comments, right? But we're just trying to make it, and I think we're trying our best to be the best with ourselves, because I do think that we have more development than our parents, right? And we're really kind of, and maybe because we're egocentric, like we're really
because
obsessed with ourselves.
All of the stuff that they put us through, we had to go to fucking therapy.
We had to like self-soothe, right? And take care of ourselves. And so we ended up being, I feel like, a generation that's more equipped to handle a lot more things because we've lived through it. Like we've been there. And so I'm excited to see what the next like decade, 2 decades, inshallah, we can get out of, God willing, we can get out of COVID.
Oh my God.
Because that's the worst of it all.
Can you imagine being outside with no masks? Like, can you imagine the day that all the Goodwills are filled with masks? Because people are giving them away.
I ain't never wear no mask outside. Like, I will wear a mask. That's what I don't think I'm likely ever gonna go back to like not wearing a mask in like public spaces,
especially like traveling stores, I don't know if I'll ever get on a plane.
Definitely. And it's not like I could see myself walking around somewhere in like no mask, right? But any closed door spaces work, I'll never take off a mask ever again. And my cousin, who's an emergency room doc, she's like, I'll never. She was like, I was all up in these people's face without a mask on. You know
what it is? Like, blowing on birthday cakes and.
I always thought that was nasty.
Really?
But I was just like.
And the eyebrows, like when you get your eyebrows done and the lady's breathing in your face.
Yeah.
Girl, what were we thinking? We're disgusting.
I know, and anyway. I'm already a germaphobe, and I was thinking about these things, but it just adds an additional layer.
It does.
But we hope we'll be out of it.
Yeah, inshallah, we'll be able to like link up with you guys and actually hang out.
We do want to do an in-house kick it.
We've been talking about that. Do we want to share a little bit of what we've been thinking?
Like we hope like by next summer, God willing, that we will be able to meet and have like a talk
safely,
safe
super
space,
cool vibe,
kind of sharing, kind of sisterhood, brotherhood type, experience.
An experience. I love that.
Yeah.
So if you guys are interested in that, let us know. We're starting to think through some of that, seeing if that's something that we want to do. But if you guys are interested, definitely hit us up. Let us know. We'd love to kind of get your guys' thoughts. But I think that'll wrap us up for this episode. Make sure you like, rate, review, follow, subscribe. We're on YouTube, Instagram, and everywhere else that you like to like kick it on the internet. So with that being said, peace.